sighting was his way of sort of tapping me in the subconscious memory to get me to start learning about the things I needed to learn about in order to fulfill the agreement that I had made. So spurred on by that sighting, I began doing more reading about UFO phenomena and metaphysical phenomena, and eventually I read, about mediumship along with many other things. Ultimately, I was introduced to several mediums who were practicing at the time. And one of the entities coming through one of those mediums offered to teach mediumship for whoever was interested. Now, even then, I took him up on the offer and went into the class not thinking that this is something I was going to wind up doing. I had just read all the books I could find, and I wanted to learn more about it, so I thought, well, if I go into a class, I'll see something in action. Maybe I'll see someone become a medium, and I'll find out more about what I want to find out about. When I was in that class, in a receptive state, under the guidance of the other entity through the other medium, is when Bashar and his people made the telepathic connection with me. And as soon as they did, then the memory of having made the agreement came back. Who they were, who I was to them, why the ship sighting had occurred, dream conversations I had had with them at night that I had totally blocked out of my memory up to that point, all came flooding back in that one memory at that one point. And what came with it was the first, let's say, real-time message from them telepathically, which was, okay, now that you remember all of this, now's the time for you to start doing this as you agreed to, if you still want to. Do you still want to? Because it's always a choice. And obviously I said yes, and I've been doing it now for the last 4 years. This happened 4 years ago. Now, Bashar presents himself as an extraterrestrial consciousness, and as I was saying, because of the ship sighting and a lot of other things, I have my own validation that he is who he says he is, but one of the things I would like to absolutely make very clear at this point to everyone is that there is nothing at all about this particular channeling, nothing about this experience that insists that you have to believe that it is what we say it is. That's not what this is about, and there's no way we can prove it to you right now anyway. From time to time, other people have seen his ship, but it's not something that can happen on command. And he says that in a short time, perhaps within the next decade or so, it might be something that will be possible to do en masse. But right now, they have their reasons for remaining in the background. And one of the reasons is that in observing our society, they have basically noticed that we have a tendency to listen to follow the messenger and not listen to the message. So they're remaining relatively unobtrusive, so that people will hear the information, and so there will be no proof as to who they are at this time, because they don't want the focus to be on them. They want it to be on the information, because it's the information that is being used to serve us. So primarily, the idea behind this is to really get out of it what you want to get out of it. If the information that comes through that Bashar shares with you in your questions and answers is workable for you, use it. If it isn't workable for you, don't use it. Go and find what does work for you. That's the whole point of this thing. I don't care what you do with it. I'm here to do this because I recognize that it does serve people. It serves me. It's changed my life drastically in terms of applying the information that Bashar has shared. But different things work for different people. So, the vibration of this particular channeling may not be for everyone, and that's fine. Bashar is not literally his name. In their society, they're pretty much telepathic, and they don't really have names per se. It's a word that he chose when he first came through so that we would have something to represent him by, since he knows we use names. It's a little bit better than hey you or something like that. But it's an Arabic word, which is partly my background, and he chose it. I don't speak Arabic. I had no idea that it even was a word when he chose it. It has several meanings which other people have informed me about who do speak Arabic over the years. One meaning is that it simply means commander, which is something similar to what he is in his society. Another meaning is simply the man or the being. And the third meaning in an Armenian dialect is that Bashar means messenger. So even though it's not his name, he obviously chose a word that represents in all different facets what he's doing. And it may have other meanings that I don't even know about. Two things that I would like to lay down before we begin, and especially with, in a sense, a new group. I know many of you have heard the tapes or seen the tapes, but in terms of a live interaction, it can be a little bit different. And two things that I'd really like to point out, most importantly, and I can't stress this enough because I find that people are still hesitant. To Bashar, there is no such thing as a silly or a stupid question. Don't be shy. Don't hesitate to hold back if there's something you want to ask because you think it's a waste of everyone's time. There's no such thing. Out of some of the most, let's say, mundane things that people might have asked in any of the sessions we do have come information and interactions that have served almost everyone. So don't hold back on that account just because you think you'd be wasting everyone's time. It's never a waste. If it's really important to you and it's something you really want to know, talk about it. Because a lot of other people will usually find that they want to ask the same thing and you've asked it for them. So you've done them a service. Secondly, in the trance state, what I'm doing is sort of defocusing the consciousness that I typically am as a personality and letting Bashar's personality sort of interlock with mine. So my consciousness starts to take on the vibrational frequency of his. That's what allows me to function basically as a translation box, or as somebody once said, literally as a human telephone. There's no thinking going on in what I experience. I only see, I am conscious, but I see pictures, I feel energy, I feel emotionality, but a lot of it is extremely abstract for me. It's like being lost in a daydream, and time is very accelerated for me. What may turn out to be a typical 3-hour session will only probably feel like about an hour to me. So, because Bashar is not actually speaking our language, but because his thoughts are just simply evoking from me whatever words I'm programmed with to fit the concepts that he is sending telepathically, sometimes the words or sometimes the concepts may sound unfamiliar to you. So the second point is if ever you hear anything coming from him that just for some reason doesn't make sense, don't let it slide. Say, Bashar, wait a second, I don't get it. Can you back up? Can you use another word? Can you explain it another way? Can you use an analogy? Again, to him, everything is the first time, every time. He is never bored. He is always excited. This is what he's chosen to do. And he wants to know that you are getting out of this what you want to get out of this. So don't let it slide. It's your time. Use it in the best way you can to understand the most out of this that you want to. So whatever you put into it is what you'll get out. He is very willing to talk about anything and everything. There are no taboos on subject matter. But he's not going to pull things from you. So if you're hesitant to talk about it, you don't want to touch on it, he's not going to force you to do that. He's going to put out exactly 100% what you're going to give to him, and probably very much in the same way that you give it to him, because he's acting as a mirror, showing back to you whatever it is you're putting out. That's his service. So those two things primarily. All the other thing I will say is that when I'm going into the trance and when I'm coming out of the trance, and I assume there will be a break because there usually is, and at the end of the session tonight, when he says goodbye or take a break or what have you, I'll just ask you, please don't all start talking at once and don't get up and move around until I'm actually reoriented. It's not draining, it's not painful, and it's not depleting for me. It's actually always energizing, but it is very disorienting. So if you just give me a second to reorient before you start talking and moving around, I'll let you know when I'm back. The analogy I usually use is that if he says goodnight and you all start talking at once, it's like having 60 people screaming at you in the morning when you're trying to wake up out of your bed. So it's just a little bit disorienting. Let me reorient, and then you can run around and scream and do whatever you want to do after I'm back. You will notice a few bodily changes occur when the energy comes on, and again, I only say this is not painful just because people have said it looks painful. It's just an automatic adjustment to the energy, so don't worry about that. The basic bottom line to all of this is to have as good a time as you want to have. Have fun. Bashar, in many cases, the more willing you are to lighten up, will lighten up right along with you. And again, as I've said, don't be shy, because he's not. He's a real chatterbox, and he'll go on about anything you want to talk about. And he will help you understand the mechanisms for how to get in touch with those things that are important to you and use them in your life in the way you want to. So that's up to you. It's absolutely your time.
I noticed that there aren't a lot of questioners up here. In case you don't know, these are the seats for questions. And as the seats are taken up and the people go sit down in the audience, more people can come up and ask questions. I'm going to ask people to only ask one question at first. If there's more time, they can go back and ask. We have this room up until 11 o'clock. And so if you want to continue conversations afterwards, please take them outside, because we need to be out of here by 11. Other than that, please, I encourage you to ask questions, because That's how long this is going to be. When the questions are gone, the channeling's over.
Or sooner than that.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah, we do that sometimes at the sessions we do in LA, and basically, not only as a matter of time, but trying to focus on the single most important idea to you will help consolidate. Now, if Bashar takes it further, then by all means go with him. But I guess for the sake of allowing as many people as possible to ask questions, try to keep it to, one idea. Yeah.
Bashar is drawn to God to give us information like that.
Bashar is an extraterrestrial being from a planet, a civilization they call Esasani. They consider, like everything, themselves a part of what they call all that is, which I guess is their reference for the Creator. You can ask him about that in terms of the specifics of how to apply that particular label to it, but he has simply explained that he's here to be of positive service, to allow us to live the lives that we want, to learn how to be loving and live in light. So whatever analogy you want to draw from that, you can. And anything you want to ask him for more clarification, you can. Are there any other questions about procedure before we begin? Okay. Have a good time, and I'll see you all later. One last little thing for people, especially in the front row. There will be a volume change, so don't be too startled.
You don't need to adjust it.
Say, how are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist? Are you all alive? Yes. Thank you. Allow us to begin this interaction this evening of your time with a reminder of the reasons for why this interaction is taking place. Your world now, as we have perceived it, is beginning to go through transformations and discoveries and explorations of what you have for so long called the different aspects of your consciousness. You are now redefining the idea of what it is to be a consciousness, of what it is to be a part of creation. The idea is that any civilization that begins to explore the different realms and levels of consciousness, as you are now doing, will start changing the frequency of the consciousness it has been, and will radiate at a particular vibration, and that vibration will attract other levels of consciousness that are also functioning on the same idea, exploring many of the same things. And thus you have, by your exploration, extended, in a sense, to us an invitation to interact with you at this timing, to the many worlds and dimensions of consciousness that we represent. Our interaction with you will be indicative of our recognition that you are now expanding within your consciousness in such a way to allow your senses, what have been called your day-to-day physiological senses, to become aware of more of who and what you are. You, in a sense, are spirit. You are light itself. And you are, in an overall sense, fundamentally complete. But you have created the idea of your physiological existence, and that physiological existence carries certain definitions with it that may have placed limitations upon your ability to remember and be aware of, consciously, the totality of who and what you were created to be. In having, shall I say, played this game of forgetfulness for tens of thousands of your years of time, you have created many habitual rituals, consciousness loops that continually allow you to create the habit of forgetfulness over and over again, the habit of limitation and focus over and over again. But now, the timing upon your planet is representative of the fact that you have more or less played out almost every single way there is to play out of limitation upon your planet within the particular game you have been playing, within the particular focus of consciousness you have existed within. And so you are waking up in a very real sense. You are beginning to remember more of who and what you were originally created as, the idea of spirit and light itself. And as you now come out of the ancient cycle of forgetfulness and begin to move into the new cycle upon your planet of awareness and integration, then you are beginning to find that your senses, which have been confined to physiological reality for so long, are beginning to become sensitized to energy of different forms that are more rarefied than your senses have been able to perceive. You are now extending yourself into the vibratory frequencies of electromagnetic light that you have heretofore allowed only to be invisible to you. And as you expand your senses, you begin to see and hear things you did not heretofore see and hear. These things do not have to be taken as strange. They do not have to be taken as negative in and of themselves just because they are happening and you are not used to it. It is simply that you are not used to it because you have been in a habit for tens of thousands of years of not paying attention to the existence of those realms, of those levels, of those dimensions of experience, even when they have been all around you, all the time, since time immemorial, as you say. Now you are waking up, and as you open your spiritual eyes, you will be able to be cognizant of more and more reality that exists around you on more rarefied levels of energy. Recognize that in an overall fundamental sense, you are not really learning anything truly new, but newness comes from the creation of a different perspective of what already exists in its total form. So as you wake up, as you become more aware of more and more levels of reality that already exist, then that is a newness that creates different effects in your life and allows your physiological reality to become far more representative of a malleable, flexible reality that allows you to understand that you, each and every one of you, were created to be doorways, gateways, through which a different view of the infinite creation has been expressing itself. And that as you change your idea of what view you choose to be, so then does the physical reality around you change, because your physical reality has only been the product of what you imagine it to be, of what you have been taught to believe that it is. It is only a point of view. It is one of the ways, of all the infinite ways, that all that is has of looking at itself, of creating itself to be within creation. Our civilization is another way. Other civilizations, other dimensions of consciousness are yet more ways that infinite creation has of realizing and manifesting itself within the creation that it is. But you and all portions of creation, in that sense, are created with what you call free will. And that free will means you can change the perspective that you are at any given moment. And as you change the perspective, as you change the idea, you change your beliefs. And as you change your beliefs, you change the blueprint, the filter, the doorway, the gateway through which the energy of infinite creation manifests as the physical reality you perceive to be what you experience on a day-to-day reality. So our service to you at this time is to put you in touch with yourselves, to allow you to understand the self-empowerment that is within you, to transform your point of view in any way, shape, or form you really desire to transform it, and to understand that in transforming that point of view, you will literally, physically change the reality, the physical experiential reality you find yourselves interacting with on a day-to-day basis. Some of the ideas that we will be discussing with each and every one of you may sound like what you are used to calling philosophy. And in a sense, yes, it is, since it is a different point of view. It is a perspective. But the ideas that we are also discussing, actual mechanical ideas, physics, if you wish, methodologies, if you wish, by which you can alter the physical reality that you experience yourself to be. Because you are creating it now just by what you believe to be most true anyway. And when you change the definition of your belief, you change the physical reality. It changes your emotions, it changes your thoughts, it changes all of your experiences. And your experiences can be changed in the direction you prefer them to be changed. It is up to you. Completely up to you. You have that free will. You have that ability. It is a part of your inherent right. As beings, as all beings are, as you say in your literature, made in the image of the Creator. What does that mean? It means that you are also multidimensional creators. That is what it means. And we are here to assist you to remember that you are multidimensional creators as far as your immediate experiential reality is concerned, and that you can exercise that ability, exercise that flow in an effortless and joyful manner, and manifest the reality that is more synchronistically in harmony with love, with light, with peace, and ecstasy upon your planet. At this timing, we will always extend to you our unconditional appreciation and love in your willingness to interact with us this day of your time, in your willingness to function literally as ambassadors of your society, because that is what you are, and allowing me to function as an ambassador of my society. So that bit by bit, day by day, your society and our collective societies in the association of worlds may create more conductivity and conducive atmospheres in which we may interact face to face. For that time, as we perceive your energy, is close at hand. But for now, it is simply that we interact in this way to allow you to recognize yourselves as equals to us. We are not your betters. We are equal to you. We may have expanded points of view. We may have different points of view, but that is all we are, is different. In the infinite creation, all is equal. We thank you for allowing us to experience the gift of your consciousness, because in sharing who you are with us, you give our society that much more opportunity to perceive all the different ways that infinite creation can manifest itself to be, through the unique manifestations that each and every one of you are and have chosen to be. In return for your loving willingness and your loving gift, I ask you now, how may I serve you?
Please tell me physical changes we're going to see in our world in the next...
Can you all hear this individual? Do you wish to make an adjustment?
Could you please tell me what kind of physical changes we're going to see in our world in the next 15 to 25 years?
Thank you. To some degree, the idea of physiological changes that will occur upon your planet will be as follows. As we perceive your energy now, there will be strong electromagnetic shifts, both physiologically and in your consciousness. But remember this, and let us lay this as a foundation. There may be isolated pockets upon your planet that will experience some of these changes in what you would call negative or catastrophic ways, but by far it does not have to be that way. All transformations in that sense are neutral transformations, and whatever vibratory reality you are most closely aligned with will be the way you will experience the transformation. So some individuals will experience the transformation in a positive way, some individuals will experience it in negative ways. It is up to you to decide what vibratory reality you are, and then that will determine where you will automatically be and in what way you will experience the changes in the electromagnetic fields upon your planet. The change in the electromagnetic field is indicative of an acceleration in your mentality and in the timing of what your world is going through at this time. For your mentality is created from the electromagnetic field. Consciousness intersects with what you call the electromagnetic field of physical reality, and from that intersection is created the phenomena you call mind, physical mind, mentality in physical terms. So your mind patterns, your mental patterns, will ultimately determine the way you experience the electromagnetic shifts and accelerations that are going on your planet now, positively or negatively. You understand? Does that serve you? Remember also that with the idea of prediction, there is no such thing as a prediction of the future. There are many probable realities. It can go many different ways. Now, there may be one or two realities that have a great deal of momentum behind them. Let us say a great deal of popular support, a great deal of energy behind it, and it may seem unlikely that it will divert or change. However, when you hear a prediction about what is going to happen or not going to happen, that prediction is simply representative of a sensing of the energy that exists at the time the prediction is made. The very next second could be different. And very often, when a prediction is made, you are now made aware of where the energy is. A prediction is simply saying, look, this is the probable future behind which you have most of your energy. If that energy doesn't change, it is likely to manifest into physical reality. But now that you are aware of the prediction, if you don't prefer the outcome, your awareness of the energy, your preference of a change in the energy will render the prediction obsolete. So, being made aware of a prediction many times will actually cancel the prediction itself. You understand? Does that serve you? Thank you very much for your sharing.
Sir, I would like to ask you a personal question, if that meets with your approval.
All questions in that sense are allowable. You do not have to ask my permission.
Okay. July the 12th, we had an experience where we experienced 19 UFOs, my wife and I, and they seemed to form symbols for us, and we can find nobody else that has seen this. Is there any special meaning to my wife and I for these UFOs? Can you find it in my aura?
Recognize, first of all, that many individuals collected in what you would call groups may not necessarily indicate that their vibratory reality is all in synchronous alignment, and therefore some individuals can see things in other dimensional planes that individuals right around them will not be able to see. And in this case, that is what you are describing. The idea is that your vibration was simply oriented to the appropriate frequency to be able to perceive into a slightly different dimension of experience. It was, in your terminology, let us say, aware on the part, as we perceive that energy, of those individuals that they were simply giving you intuitive, symbolic communication, what we call identification. Identification is simply aligning vibration with vibration, seeing who is aligned to particular frequencies and taking note of that, in a sense locking them in to simply take stock of what percentage of your individuals upon your planet are aligning with a vibration that would allow us to interact more and more and more with all of you. So you were noticed in that sense, and you were given the idea of recognition. You were shown ideas of symbols that translate directly into your unconscious and subconscious minds to awaken within you whatever you are willing to allow to be awakened, so that you can then be assisted with more momentum and more energy to do the things in your life that represent the strongest of who and what you are. May I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Are you doing in your life what excites you the most?
I'm getting to it little by little.
Little by little.
Yeah.
Why are you waiting?
Oh, it's just taking a lot of time for me to get open to what I was supposed to do in this lifetime.
Not so. Not so. It does not have to. Now, the idea may be that when individuals are asked, well, are you doing the thing that excites you the most? They conjure up an image of something that will be the most exciting thing they will ever do in their life. And they work towards getting to that point, not enjoying the rest of their life at all. But the idea, you see, is that when we ask you, are you doing the most exciting thing? We simply mean, are you doing the most exciting thing you can be doing in the moment, now, right now? Of all the things you are capable of doing, if you simply do the one that excites you the most with integrity, very important, then you will be fulfilling the path you chose to be. You will be fulfilling the purpose you chose to be, in that sense. Because the fundamental purpose to all of your lives is to simply be as fully as you can the life you are living now. And the way to most easily do that is to do what excites you the most. Because excitement is the vibration that lets you know who you are. That's why it's exciting. So if you simply do at any given moment the thing that excites you the most out of all the things you are capable of acting upon, it will automatically lead you into the circumstances necessary to be able to do the next most exciting thing that will come along. And the next, and the next, and the next. Excitement is a string, is a thread. It leads to all other excitement, and it constantly allows you to accelerate your momentum. You do not have the idea necessarily of just a specific thing that you will have to do in life and then that's it. There are many things you can do that are a part of the overall life you chose to be. Remember, all of you, even though you are reincarnational beings, the you are now only does have one life to live. So the fundamental purpose of the life you are living now is to live it to the fullest. To be the fullest you can be. And if you simply do that and are of service with doing what excites you, with integrity, with love, with joy, you will fulfill your purpose. But you can start right now by doing at any given moment whatever you are aware that you are capable of doing that excites you the most out of all the things you are aware of. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
Does that serve you?
I think so. Are you kind of saying that because of the sightings and things, I have had a desire to meet with space people? Is that because the sightings and things are coming around because of my desire?
It is because of the vibratory frequency you have placed yourself upon. But those sightings are indicative of the level of energy. It is a reflection, let us say, a mirror to you of the level of energy you are operating on, and therefore should be, quote unquote, should. The idea of a reflection of exactly how much energy you have, and a reflection that you can do anything you want to with it right now, and you don't have to wait. Understand?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sitting.
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
I have a personal question.
All right.
A phenomena that I experienced about 7 years ago. I was doing some meditation with some tapes that you send in for, and I was just at home and experienced a spiritual awakening and did not have anybody to relate this experience with at that time. And for a long time I felt the love of God and the oneness with the Creator. And then I came to a point where my ego took over and I became very afraid and just turned
One moment. It did not take over. You placed it in charge.
Right, exactly. I put it above the spiritual experience, above the spiritual process. And after that, I did a lot of other things in which made the process even more difficult.
All right. What did you learn from that?
That you can't control the spiritual process, for one thing.
Not that way.
No.
But that you actually are always in control of it when you allow it to flow naturally.
Right.
Okay.
But that's sort of hindsight, because
That's all right.
because of the experiences in controlling and
Yes.
manipulation of other
Yes.
processes,
Yes.
I am left over with a great deal of metaphysical discomfort, which I experience.
Only because you believe you need to hang on to it. Only
Uh-huh.
because you believe in guilt and regret.
Right. Okay.
You don't need to believe in that. If you recognize that you have now chosen which way you prefer, which way represents the positive energy, then if you will allow yourself to know that simply by making the choice to recognize which direction is positive and then acting accordingly, that right then and there will absolve you of any guilt and regret you need to hang on to. Understand?
Yes, I believe I grasp that aspect of it. However, when I am actually experiencing the physical phenomena of being uncomfortable or disconnected, as it were,
Okay.
then I psychologically bring my vibratory level down.
Why?
And because I say to myself, this is terribly uncomfortable, and I wish I could get through this period, and what is my learning lesson with this? And, I put myself in a little bit of a boxed-in place.
All right. Then why do you create the definitions that create the box? Why not change the definitions?
So do you have some suggestions that I could
Yes.
follow?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you paying attention?
Yes, the best of my ability.
All right.
We have it on tape so I can listen later.
All right. But let it remind you that you are the recorder. Understand?
Right.
Now, this can function for all of you. It is a very simple understanding. We have discussed it many times, and some of you may be familiar with it, but perhaps some of you have not allowed it to sink in, as you say. The idea is as follows. Are you familiar with the idea we have discussed that all circumstances are fundamentally neutral? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes. It's the belief that creates the positive or the negative. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Then why, if you are familiar with the idea that all circumstances are fundamentally neutral until you assign a meaning to it, which then creates a negative or a positive effect, why do you say that the feelings you are having are terrible? Why are you automatically assigning an inherent negative meaning to them?
Probably because of the physical discomfort that manifests through my body at the particular time.
We understand that for you that can be a very strong motivation or incentive to continue to label it as a negative idea. But what if you didn't?
In other words, just allow it to be just totally neutral and then just not label it at all.
You see, here's the paradox of the situation. We are not telling you to tolerate your pain. No, because none of you need pain. No. The idea, however, paradoxically, is that very often, as soon as you allow yourself to acknowledge that if there is pain, that you are choosing to create it, that it is under your control because it is your choice to experience the reality in a painful way, it will bring it back under your control, and as soon as it is, you can then transform it in any way, shape, or form you want to. But you see, the thing of it is that because you are, many of you, in the habit of denying that you own the pain in your life, you will not allow yourself to change it because you cannot change what you do not own. So first you must own it. You must acknowledge, all right, I am creating the pain. Therefore, I must have a good reason for it. I must have a positive reason for it. How does it serve me to have created a negative experience? What positive idea can I learn from it? The sooner you are willing to understand that it is there for a positive reason and not a negative one, you will cease to reinforce the negative aspect. You will instantaneously begin to transform it into a positive energy, and the pain will vanish. All pain All pain, mental pain, spiritual pain, emotional pain, physical pain, all pain is resistance to the energy of flow, of light. All pain is the cutting off of a portion of yourself from the totality that can supply you with the support, the flow, that allows you to function ecstatically, naturally. Remember that this whole idea of the transformation taking place upon your planet now is not to learn how to act normally, but how to act naturally. You have acted normal for quite a long time, all of you. Now you are learning to act naturally. And so you will simply find that much of the pain that you have created in your life comes from your pressuring yourself to try and be normal rather than natural, by going with your flow on all levels, by trusting it on all levels. The signature vibration that you are is the fundamental being you have been created to be. Flow with it. Are you doing what excites you the most in life?
Yes, I believe in my work world. Are you speaking of that?
All of it. Everything. Is there any area you are holding yourself back?
Well, probably in relationship, and then I'm copping out again because of physical, the physical discomfort.
All right.
And I feel if I can.
Sometimes physical pain can be an excuse to not have to do something that you may be afraid to do. Is that the case with you? What do you imagine would happen if you didn't have the pain? Would there be something that you would be doing that perhaps you are afraid of doing? That the pain doesn't allow you to do?
At this time, I don't believe there is. There may be eventually. I think I have to take.
You don't have to create it, and you don't have to wait for it.
I think if I do assimilate what you're saying and not label the discomfort as being negative or positive, but just flowing with it and just like you say, owning it.
Remember that many of you do have what you call habitual rituals, and it may be your habit to use energy to create pain. But the idea is that as soon as you begin to redefine it, it will not come with the same effect, with the same meaning. You will be able to redefine it and define it into another experience altogether. But you must begin to redefine it now if you wish it to change.
Yes. And then if I can create a better atmosphere for myself, so to speak, that I can become on a higher vibrational plane, because that's what I miss. I miss that experience of the oneness.
But you don't have to make a chore out of it. Understand, all of you, that in all reality, now you can allow this to take as long or as short as you wish, but the process that you create is up to you. Your imagination is real. It is not unreal. It is representative of reality. It may be on a different dimensional plane, a different vibratory level, but there is absolutely nothing you can imagine that is not real. You are incapable of imagining non-existence. Anything you imagine is somewhere, somehow, somewhen real. Some of it may not have immediate application into your particular physiological dimension, but that doesn't mean it is not real. And generally speaking, especially when it comes spontaneously, the ideas that come into your imagination do apply to your physical dimension. Otherwise, it is unlikely they would have popped up first. So the idea, first of all, and one thing that might assist you, maybe, and any of you that wish to apply this in your own way, is that if you have an idea of who you are now, and you have an idea of how you would like to be, then recognize that your picture of who you would like to be is being created in the present. It is within your imagination vibration now. And all you have to do is allow yourself to be that person now, rather than assuming that it takes time in order to become that person. The second you conceive of it, you are the vibration. But the habit of your society is to say, all right, now I have the idea of who I'd like to be. What do I have to do in order to become that idea somewhere down the road?
Most recently is that I have the dreams that I remember, which are the ones that occur most recently to my waking up, prior to my waking up, are ones that are very much like my waking reality. I have a sense that there are dreams that are in a deeper sleep that I don't remember, in which I'm learning.
Yes, in a sense, but not so much as a difference as there used to be. The idea that you are, or seemingly are, remembering things that seem so very common to you is that what was once uncommon is becoming more familiar. Understand? You're simply getting used to the idea of different dimensions of experience, and so the dreams you remember have a degree of commonality to them. It is not that they are truly common in that sense, or mundane, as you call it, but simply that you are getting used to uncommon changes in your reality. And so your analytical mind, upon awakening, is interpreting those experiences as very common experiences. Remember that when you wake up, you're not always literally remembering the experience, but you are aware of the symbology that has been applied to the experience by your outer physical ego structure to make sense out of it in physical terms. So it will use common building blocks, common representational symbols to show you that what was heretofore very unusual is becoming quite natural to you, in a sense. Yes, there are still other levels of information that are coming to you that you are not in that sense consciously aware of, but you do not always need to be. Because as we have discussed many times, many of you don't need to be consciously aware of what that information is, so that you will allow yourselves to live your physical life spontaneously, without having the structure laid out before you that would make you hesitate to act in any direction, for fear of getting it wrong.
I understand what you're saying.
Continue.
You knew that was coming. I was advised by an entity other than yourself that if I wanted to create the dream symbology that I preferred, what I could do would be to 20 times in a long written handwriting to say, for example, I am, for an example of a dream that I would wish, I am flying to a golden temple where I meet my guides, and so do that 20 times.
Do you know why that was recommended for you?
No.
Because you place a lot of belief in the written word. Because you have, in that sense, been a writer many times. And therefore, since it has been your stock in trade, so to speak, it was perceived that writing it down would make it more believable for you as a tool.
I did it 3 nights, and then I stopped. It didn't work. That I remembered.
You were simply trying a little too hard.
Well, I tend to do that. How do you not try too hard?
Stop trying to do it. Why is it so important?
Because I really love flying dreams.
All right, but let me put it this way. Why is it so much more important than anything else?
It isn't. It's just fun. You say do what excites you the most, and that is when I wake up from dreams that I remember like that, it excites me.
All right. But remember also that when we say do what excites you the most, very often we are also referring to things that individuals in your society are negligent to do in physical reality. You understand? Because that is usually where most of you stop short of the whole idea. You keep yourselves in the idea of the spiritual, non-physical realms because that is exciting to you, but you do not think that the idea of action in the physical world is just as exciting. And so many times you will actually stop yourself from remembering what is going on in the non-physical realm because you start making the non-physical that much more important than the physical.
I don't feel it's more important. I just love both. I'm very excited by my waking reality.
This idea in general. We have not gotten to the specifics about you yet.
Okay.
Now, imagine the idea right now, of that golden temple, all right?
Yes.
What does it look like? Define, describe.
It has steps up to it, and then a plaza area.
What color?
Golden.
All of it?
Some of it is stone.
What color?
Gray and pink granite, like stone.
Walk up to it in your imagination and feel it. What does it feel like? Is it hot? Is it cool? Is it smooth? Is it rough?
It's smooth and cool.
All right. Anything else attract your attention?
There's there are pillars in the front of the entranceway, and the entranceway is oversized.
What are they made of?
Gold.
Go up to them, touch them, smell them, taste them.
Okay.
Describe, define.
Metallic and cool.
All right.
Smooth.
Stop there for now.
Okay.
Are you getting the picture? The
Yeah.
idea is to allow yourself to utilize, first of all, and this is one of the reasons that the writing was recommended, to utilize all the way, all the senses, all the belief systems that you have that you would use in physical reality to define and describe the non-physical reality you wish to retain memory of as well. Use all your senses. Many individuals do not allow themselves to retain the idea of the non-physical reality because they become ethereal about how they are to be experiencing that idea. Let yourself understand that if you wish to retain what seems to be a solid recollection, then do an exercise where you imagine it to begin with, lay out the steps that you will take, and go through it using every sense you have. Make it real to you. On all levels, on the levels you are most used to having reality upon, the physical level. Make it solid, make it real until you can feel it, until you can hear it, until you can hear the distortion of the metal or the stone, until you can feel the coolness or the heat, until you can feel the solidity, the smoothness, the roughness, until you know it, until you absolutely know it. Just the same way you know what it would feel like to place your hand upon the wall of the building you are in. Make it real for you. And as soon as you become completely absorbed in its reality, you will start to blend the physical and the non-physical reality in a very real way. But you are simply going about it very ethereally. Understand?
Yes.
Now you should.
Well, it's like this.
Yeah, how is it?
When my eyes are opened, it
Okay.
seems I'm able to go through that process that you said easier than when my eyes are closed.
Then that's your clue, is it not?
I guess so.
Let yourself begin in whatever way is easiest for you and let the natural inclinations take over when they need to. Eventually your eyes may close, but do not force yourself into a pattern that is not the most workable pattern for you. Do not assume that whatever is the most workable pattern is not workable. Oh, I can't do that with my eyes open. Everyone knows my eyes should be closed. Why? Don't make assumptions. Do it in whatever way is easiest for you, and let the natural path follow. Understand?
Yes. Then,
So, the idea of writing it out also was an indication that you rely on your visual senses. And you would start to daydream with your eyes open in writing it out, repeating it over and over again. It is that you place the expectation in another area rather than in the present. You said, all right, I'll write it out, and I had better experience this later in my dreams. Instead of understanding that by writing it out, the whole purpose you were given that exercise was to allow you to start experiencing it while you were writing it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Understand?
Yeah, that I understand.
Thank you. Does that serve you?
It does. Then let me just clarify one point then.
All right.
Then, is it so that the dreams in which I would be forgetting some information, perhaps, or not bringing it back, those dreams, that information is not needed to be conscious, and
Sometimes not.
And it will come forth into my consciousness when it's appropriate.
The more you relax into that understanding, the quicker you allow anything that is supposed to be there to be there. Relax.
Okay.
Relax.
Thank you.
Don't try so hard. That's what pushes it away. Be in the moment. In the moment. In the moment. When? Now. When? Now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharing.
Hello, Bashar.
Hello.
I had a dream that I was wondering you could tell me what it meant.
Maybe.
I was in first grade when I had this dream, and it took place when I was in first grade too. And I was with my first grade class, and we were at the zoo for a field trip, and we were at looking at the seals, and my friend, her name was Amanda, and she said there was this door and there was this guard and he was asleep. And she said, I wonder what's in there. And I said, well, I don't know. And she said, why don't we go in? And I said, okay. And so we went in, and it's like a big hall, and there was a refrigerator, and we were real hungry, so we started eating. And then this really big fat guy with this crown on, he comes by and he chains us to the walls by our hands and legs. And then the guard that was sleeping woke up and unchained us. And he took us into this room where there was a whole bunch of people sitting down, and as we were walking by, they all gave us little presents. And then we opened up the door, and our first grade class was there, and it seemed like he knew the class was coming, so that we could just fit right in when we walked out.
This guard represents symbolically to you what is typically called a spirit guide, and simply took the form that fit in to your dream experience to allow you to understand that the old ways, the ways that chained you to the wall, were already behind you, that you had now entered a new reality. With grade 1, you have begun life in a new world, a new earth, far different from any of the old earths you have ever lived in before, of any of the other lives you have had. You are now far freer to go where you need to go, because you know you are doing it with integrity. The idea of chaining you to the wall is simply the old idea that you might have been stealing, not using your integrity in past lives, but that dream was an indication that you had already worked that out. That in the first year of your physical life, the idea, the first grade as you call it, upon that point, upon what you call the age of reason, approximately in your terms, the idea of 5, 6, 7 years of age, then you would understand you had already in that time worked out all of your past associations to negativity, all of your past associations to limitation, and your spirit guide unlocked you to show you that you are free now to go where you wish, and that you do in fact fit in, and that as you accelerate in this physical life that you are now living, you will learn possibly to be of service to other individuals by letting them know they are also very free, and that the old limitations and the old expectations do not have to chain them to the walls of the reality they have created, that they are free, that they always have assistance, they always have guides, they always have love, and they always understand that they are as innocent as you say a child in your society is, that simply goes and knows that everything is for everyone, and that there is abundance represented by the food for all, and that you are going to partake of great abundance in this life because you have already worked out the ideas of your past limitations. Are you understanding what we are saying?
Yes.
Does that serve you?
Except the only thing is that I had this dream 2 or 3 times, and I was wondering why that was.
Because you have more than one encounter with your spirit guide, and you simply use the same dream symbology to allow yourself to represent who that is to you. Now that you are aware that it is the same being that you are dealing with as a spirit guide that is assisting you, you do not have to have the same dream in which you interact with them. You can change the dream. Allow yourself to remember, perhaps next time, while you are dreaming, that you are, in fact, dreaming. And as soon as you remember that you're dreaming while you're dreaming, you can change the whole aspect of the idea of the interaction, and you can see the spirit guide more for what it is. You follow me?
Yes. Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you very much. Shedding.
Greetings, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Would you please comment on this coming period called the harmonic convergence?
Harmonic convergence simply is the recognition of the overlap of the old cycle of negative vibration and the new cycle of positive vibration. The overlap of old ways and new ways. It is, let us say, the quote-unquote official center point of the transformational age which has been going on your planet for approximately 40 of your years, give or take, and will continue for approximately another 40 of your years, give or take, and that this represents the actual midpoint, the fulcrum, the doorway. That is the center of the overlap of the old reality and the new. It is the limbo point, the balance point. It is the analogy of the dive, the jump, where you jump up And in that moment of hanging in suspension before you slide down the other side. That is what it represents. The ability of all vibrations, of all probable realities, that allows you to be in a neutral state, a limbo state, a disconnected state, to pick and choose what reality you prefer. So that when you decide and then lock yourself into that frequency, from that point forward, you will begin to accelerate around you that experiential reality. It is a gateway. It is a tunnel from one reality, from one earth to another earth, in a sense, to whatever earth you prefer to be a part of. It is a limbo state. That is why many of you are beginning to experience the idea of disorientation, of limbo in your lives, of disillusionment. It is because you are placing yourself in neutral, unlocking yourself from one reality, the reality you have lived for thousands of years, and allowing yourself the opportunity to assess what reality you now prefer. A convergence of harmonics, because all realities are the product of harmonic vibrations. That is what it is. It is a library of all probable realities for you to decide which you prefer. You follow me?
Yes.
Does that assist you?
Yes.
Then enjoy in whatever way excites you the most. And remember that many of you are doing similar things at the same time across your entire planet, and that will add momentum to the ability of the majority of your planet to create the reality you desire upon your planet of peace and harmony. Thank you for your willingness to participate and create that particular symbolic recognition of the transformation that you are all going through. Does that serve you?
Yes, thank you. I have another question.
All right.
Could you comment on the role of crystals for some people at this time in facilitating their own transformation,
Yes.
as well as the transformation of the Earth?
Okay. Well, the Earth is a crystal like any planet. You understand?
Yes.
The idea simply is that crystals, in a sense, are tools. All tools are valid. They do represent a form of electromagnetic power or vibratory energy, but they are actually mostly triggers for you, for the representation of all that is an infinite creation that you are. They are tools that are now more symbolic of the integration you are creating upon your planet, because they have less different materials, few moving parts in that sense. You are integrating yourself into one simple understanding. Crystals as a solid material form are not that far removed from the natural energy state out of which all matter is created. So they are the symbolic representation of how your consciousness is crystallizing, so that there is more communication between you, so that you are getting in touch with all the different layers and levels of dimensionality by literally creating patterns of crystalline consciousness, by arranging the energy that you are in crystalline matrices to be what you call superconducting. It is no accident that your science is now breaking through what you call superconductive material. It is because your consciousness is becoming superconductive. Understand?
Yes.
The crystals represent this. Superconductivity, crystalline alignment, allows energy to flow through it absolutely without resistance. Does that tell you something?
Yes.
Does that serve you?
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Shooting.
Hello, Bashar.
Thank you. Good day.
I am wondering if there's any truth to the idea that the government created the disease AIDS.
No, not directly in that sense. All of you have co-created it. Basically, it is representative of the following idea. Now, there are many specific ideas within this, but we will give you the general foundation as we perceive it in your energy. Your society has for so long been refusing to blend and balance the masculine and feminine energies within each and every one of you. You have been refusing to marry that energy within each and every one of you. That you have created factions in your society that then are forced to represent the idea that each and every individual creates and has the ability to create either energy within any individual. Lack of willingness, fear to absorb, to blend and harmonize the assertive and receptive energies within each and every male and female has created most of the different forms of dis-ease upon your planet. What you call aid is simply the one that is most symbolically representative of your fear of self-intimacy. For now it has forced you to begin to drop all your barriers, to deal with the portions of your society and your consciousness that you have as a mainstream society refused to deal with, to integrate those ideas and energies within yourself. And when you center yourself in that way, by blending the masculine and feminine energies within each and every one of you, then there will be in that centered place no dis-ease whatsoever. It is simply one more step in the acceleration of dis-ease out of the refusal to blend and balance yourselves into polarity that you have expressed upon your society for thousands of years. It is your breaking point. It is your threshold. Now, from time to time, the idea of what you call your government interaction has played some part in the generation of some ideas of what you would call making it easier to propagate some of the idea of the disease upon your planet, or initiating some of the conditions that allow disease to spread. But remember, you, all of you, are your governments. No separation. What you call your government are only what you have created and support them to be. When you blend also the idea of your public and your government and allow there to be a flow of communication between you, because you are your government, then there will be no mystery, there will be no secrets, there will be no coercion, there will be no covert activity. There will be blending, service, sharing, allowance, willingness, love, trust, light. No disease, no fear. Remember that you have, in a sense, perpetuated what you call your government out of fear. Protect me, you say. Protect me from what I fear. Any consciousness that you create out of fear must continue to generate fear in order to stay alive. It doesn't want to die any more than any other creation. The idea is to take back responsibility for the creations in your lives, to own it, and then change it. And in that sense, then, to allow your government to serve you, not to rule you. So they no longer have to protect you from what you fear. Understand?
Yes.
Does that serve you?
Yes, thank you, Bashar.
Thank you very much. Sharing.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm still not clear about pain.
All right.
I have a problem with chronic pain in my low back, and I'm wondering what it is that I can do to help relieve that.
Have you already, in your terminology, let us say, acquired the assistance of your medical practitioner?
Yes.
What have they told you?
Nothing.
They can tell you nothing at all?
Well, nothing that seems to help.
All right. Do they attribute a particular reason to it?
There's a problem with some scoliosis in the upper back, although the pain is in the lower back.
For how long have you had this manifestation?
About 5 years chronically, a little bit longer than that intermittently.
I do not wish this to seem as what you would call a panacea, but to initiate a foundation, first of all, so that we may explore in more detail, are you doing what excites you the most in life? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
What is it? Are you sure you're doing it?
I'm doing some of it.
All right, some of it. What would be all of it?
To be doing what I'm doing, but doing it better.
Better? You mean more expanded?
More expanded.
In what way?
To be the best healer that I could be.
The best healer?
Yeah.
Have you applied any of these principles to yourself?
Yes.
And?
It doesn't seem to be helping.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you believe that the individuals that come to you for healing deserve to be healed?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you believe you deserve to be healed?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I hadn't thought about it before now.
All right, think about it.
Yes, I do believe that.
All right. Why?
Because I don't think anyone needs to live with pain.
No, no one needs to live with pain. But do they believe they can live without it? May I ask you another question?
Yes.
Just playing around here for a moment.
Okay.
Do you believe that you are taken seriously as a healer?
Yes.
By the individuals that you assist in healing?
Yes.
Do you understand what healing is? Can you define it? When another individual is healed, quote unquote, by you, can you define the mechanism that is happening?
Well, I don't think they're being healed by me.
Correct.
To me, being healed means becoming integrated with body, mind, and spirit, and resonating with the pulsation of creation in the universe.
And as a healer, then what are you doing for them?
Helping them to resonate.
All right, so you are saying you are creating a conductive or conducive atmosphere, a frequency that they can align with that will allow them to see how they can heal themselves, yes?
Yes.
All right. How do you go about healing them? What do you use? What techniques? What methodologies?
I use acupuncture, and I use counseling, some diet and nutrition.
All right. Now, may I ask you another question? Thank you, I will. Do you have in your imagination other methodologies that have occurred to you that perhaps you are not willing to try?
Yes.
For one reason or another?
Yes.
What are those methodologies and why are you not willing to try them?
A little scared of the unknown. Methodologies.
Scared of the unknown.
Methodologies like homeopathy, crystals.
Okay.
More expansion of visualization techniques.
All right. These things have come to you in your imagination as ways that you could possibly expand the idea of your healing?
Yes.
And yet you have refused to incorporate them?
I haven't refused. I've procrastinated.
What's the difference?
Not sure.
There is none.
Okay.
It is simply a lack of willingness to trust what your imagination is giving you. Do you believe you are a healer?
Yes.
Why don't you believe your imagination then? Do you not think that your imagination is the imagination of a healer?
Yes.
Then why not trust the images that it gives you as what is representative of what you can actually best be of service in?
Okay.
Okay, well, all right. It is a suggestion. You can do it. You can begin to trust that whatever you get from your imagination is what needs to be provided to you to allow you to be the best healer you can be. You begin to trust your imagination because you understand that your imagination is the key to any methodology that will work best for you in doing the thing that excites you the most. That's what your imagination is for. It's key to your vibration. When you say, well, let's see, I'm a healer. Yes, that's what excites me. How can I heal best? Your imagination will say, pop, pop, pop. Here, picture this, picture this, picture this. But if you say, oh, I don't know. Well, maybe, then you are resisting your own flow. When you resist your own flow, you're going to block up in your body, and you're going to create the type of pains you're feeling. Because all pain is resistance. Resistance to your natural self. Lack of willingness to trust the information you are getting from your higher self, from your imagination, as to who and what you are and how you can best be of service. When you let imagination, in that sense, create the image that represents who you are, trust it, act upon it, and let that energy flow through you, then it will not block up in you and will not create the pain. Many healers who do not use the energy to allow it to flow will feel the pain generally in their lower back, because that is the seat, quote unquote, of the idea of what you call the Kundalini energy. That which from all energy in your body derives its source and origin. The spinal cord, the connection between your brain and all the neural system of your body. And it will tend to block up in the base. Understand?
Yeah.
Has this served you so far?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question about channeling.
All right.
I use channeling to get answers to questions in a yes and no form using muscle testing in my fingers.
All right. Any tool is valid.
However, and I've been doing it for about a year, a little bit longer, but I've been finding more in the last 6 months that I don't trust it anymore. That the answers that I get don't seem to go along with my observations.
Then what methodology does your imagination tell you would work best for you now? And while you are pondering that, do you have a definition of what channeling is?
Receiving information from a higher source.
No.
I give up.
All right. Fundamental definition of channeling: doing anything you love to do in total trust. Understand? That is channeling.
Okay.
So, do what you love to do, but do it in total trust. And trust what comes to you. And when things change in your methodology, trust the change. The change is there for a reason, as a part of the path you chose to be, not as an interruption in it. Understand?
Yes.
Then when you flow that trust, you will then release that energy and begin, in that sense, to lighten up and not be so tense in that portion of your back. In a sense, it is resistance. Resistance is all it is, fundamentally. Do not resist who you are. Trust what your imagination gives you. It is there for a reason. I guarantee it. You will always see that it works. It never doesn't work. And there are no exceptions, not even you. Understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Does this serve you?
Yes, it does.
One moment. Have you utilized, just as an assistance, just as a focus, the idea of what you typically call a bluish violet fluorite crystal?
No, I haven't used any crystals.
Play with that idea and see if it changes the energy in your neural pathway.
A bluish violet crystal?
Fluorite.
Bluish violet.
Fluorite crystal.
Fluorite crystal. Okay.
Individuals will point you in the direction. Use your instinct and pick the one that feels most correct for you.
And this is to be used?
Use your imagination.
Okay.
Apply it to your body in whatever way, shape, or form your imagination tells you, in whatever way you picture. All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sharing.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Good day. Thank you for co-creating this evening with us.
And you as well.
I have a question about my mother. She went into the hospital today. She's having some kind of discomfort in her chest area around her heart. And nobody's really quite sure exactly what it is, but she's not sure anyway. And I was wondering if you could give me some information about that and possibly some information on how I might be of service to her in that way.
One moment. Have you taken flowers?
No, not yet.
When will you?
Tomorrow.
Will you do a favor?
Yes.
Remind that individual that they are as the flowers, that their roots are deep, and they draw nourishment from the earth, that the earth sustains, that creation sustains, and they do not have to consider that they do not belong. They do not have to think that they are not one of the flowers of the garden. They do not have to work so hard trying to expend so much energy to be where they naturally fit in anyway. What do you think?
That's my mother. I'll tell her.
All right. She does not have to believe it. But you can send your unconditional love, and that will be of best service to an individual who simply, in that sense, basically needs to loosen up a bit. Needs to open the petals up to the sun. To relax. To soak up life. Because, most important, remind her she deserves it. Just because she is who she is. She doesn't need an extra reason. Understand?
Yes. Thank you.
Also, perhaps a little laughter would lighten things up.
Okay.
And think orange for her, orange, and suggest she think orange. The emotional vibration to attract those who can be of best assistance to her, for there are others around her who can be of assistance also in non-physical form, in dream reality, to soften her up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question. I had a dream a couple of weekends ago. I was up on the mountaintop near Grass Valley, and I had a bunch of dreams that night that seemed to relate to extraterrestrials or UFOs.
It is a highly magnetic vortex, as we have outlined before, that is very strongly connected to different dimensional planes, some of which connect directly into those in which we exist.
Yes.
It is like plugging yourself into a live stream, a live energy.
Yes. I had, as I said, multiple dreams. One of them in particular was actually a waking dream. I had awakened between dreams, and I had this experience where I closed my eyes for a second, and I saw, while my eyes were closed, my arm reaching out and resting on the shoulder of someone else. I couldn't see myself or someone else, only my arm and the space that it was crossing. And then a moment later, an arm came back and rested itself on my shoulder.
This is an astral experience.
Okay, could you explain the arm, because it wasn't of this planet that I could tell.
Simply that it was made out of what you call astral material, can go as far as you wish, stretch anywhere, anywhere. It is your indication that in that vortex, and as is becoming common to your entire planet now, physical reality and dream reality are merging, are blending, because physical reality is only a dream. And as you allow the astral reality to contain them both, your physical reality will become as malleable, as flexible. You are simply encountering consciousness and intelligence that was aware of you and identifying with you, reassuring you, letting you know you have literally touched other dimensions. Do you understand that is where the original term touched comes from?
I wasn't aware of that.
You are literally touched by spirit now that you are becoming more spirit in vibration. You can feel it. Your senses now can feel it as if it is more solid. You are becoming more astral, more force density, more light. And light will then feel solid to you.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Yes.
So you have given yourself an opportunity to be presented with a mirror reflection that you are now touching into other dimensions and therefore can be touched by other dimensions.
Great.
Understand?
Yes. One more question. I had a meditation the other afternoon where during my lunch break, and I took my crystal and I laid it on my heart, and while I was meditating, it was actually your voice that I was hearing, or my interpretation of your voice. I assumed it to be my own higher self or something that way.
Yes, because our vibrational frequency is always, in a sense, being beamed to your planet. And when you think of us, you will simply acclimate yourself to that particular frequency to reflect it back to yourself if that is the symbol that you require.
Okay.
But in that sense, it is you and it is us, it is both.
Okay. What you said, or what the voice said at the time, was, for whatever I was thinking about, was to look into the crystal skull, which I did.
Yes.
And at least I felt that I was sort of transmigrated into a fourth density kind of awareness at that point, and stayed that way for the rest of the day.
That is what the crystal skull is for, you know. All
yes,
the ones that exist.
I was aware of that.
And you were, in a sense, a part of that civilization, too.
The Mayan civilization?
Yes.
Oh, very interesting.
And Atalantean.
Oh, okay.
From where some of the original technology came from.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of the crystal skull is a dimensional gate. It has within the skull, in what you would call magnetic crystalline alignment, the patterns of recognition necessary to open a dimensional gate to the dimension in which that civilization transferred themselves. But it is, in a sense, encoded. And someone who looks into the skull's eye, if they cannot face all the ideas of the different levels of their consciousness, if they cannot come to terms with that, will not be able to integrate and will not be able to open the door. So that is the lock on the door. Anyone who is not integrated enough to follow will not be able to follow.
Okay.
But you are remembering who and what you are. And so you are remembering those patterns, those codes, those keys. And that is the way, by looking into the eyes of the crystal skull. You will evoke from yourself and pull from yourself all the different fragments. You have created yourself, all the different compartments. You have created your consciousness to be. If you cannot stand the idea of them integrating back together into one homogeneous consciousness, then you will not be able to face that skull, which represents transformation, which represents death, but not in a negative sense.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes.
Does that serve you?
Yes, thank you very much, Bashar.
Thank you. Would you all enjoy a short break? Then we will resume contact in approximately 15 of your minutes. Going. Great. Are we on a break? All right, I'll say, continue.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
For the last 100 years, our society has been based on petroleum products, and it seems to me it's a dirty form of energy. And can we expect any clean energy to come into our society as a main form of...
I understand that many times it has been attempted in your society to utilize what you call the electromagnetic field of your planet. This is what we utilize. Light itself gives you all the power that you need, if you will apply it in that way. These many attempts to utilize the electromagnetic spectrum in some of the inventions that have been created upon your society, simply because of what you have created your society to be, has, as inventions, been suppressed. But you can use that technology anytime you wish. And it is our perception at this time that within what you call the next 30 of your years, you will begin to utilize that particular type of technology almost exclusively.
Do you see the Persian Gulf crisis as a beginning of the end of our petroleum base?
There will be, in our perception, many particular factors that will, in your terms, come to a focus in approximately what you call your year 1997, within that entire area you call your Middle East. It will revolve around the idea also of one factor of energy, and also one factor you would call religion. But the idea in this sense is that you are now, as a whole society, bringing all these ideas bubbling up to the surface so that you can display all the opportunities out in the open overtly rather than covertly, so that you can all decide as a society what methodologies you prefer to utilize upon your planet. It is one of the factors. It is not necessarily the only one, nor even in your terms the strongest one that will occur, but it is one of the factors that will, in your terms, bring all of the idea to a focus. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Does that assist you?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sharing.
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
I'm so happy to meet you. I wanted to ask you what my connection with dolphins are. I love dolphins. I've always loved them. I dream about them all the time.
Recognize, first of all, that in your terminology, if we may use your word alien, since you are, to us, alien, you, as human, are not the only alien species upon your planet. The dolphins and whales, the cetaceans, are the other alien race upon your world. You have two, not one, two. They are, in your terms, sentient like yourselves, although they express themselves, of course, very differently. But they have been in telepathic communication with many civilizations for quite some time, and recognize that you, the human life form upon your planet, is now waking up and tapping into the same communication. So they are willing to involve themselves, to play with you in your dreams, to assist you, to learn how to love, how to share in loving ways, to open you up into that telepathic, or what we may term empathic receptivity to other lines of communication going on. They are very strongly connected to the civilization you call by the name star Sirius. And in this way, you will find that many individuals that find themselves strongly attracted to dolphin energy may have strong Sirius connections in many different ways. Part of their energy will be locked into or focused into that particular dimension or density of consciousness. But dolphins, in that sense, are the other alien species upon your world, and now they invite you openly to play with them in their own environment, so that you may learn to telepathically share with each other. They are in many of your dreams all the time, speaking with you in many different ways. And one of the strongest things, aside from dream communication, they are doing upon your planet is giving you assistance with the actual physiological births of your children taking place upon your planet now, to alleviate the idea of the pressure and the pain that you think you have to go through. Childbirth in no way, shape, or form needs to be painful. Calling upon the dolphin energy can assist you. Also allowing the child to help with the birth can assist you, so you're not taking it all upon your own shoulders, so to speak, which is the only thing that creates the pain, the responsibility that you place upon yourselves in a negative fashion. Dolphins will assist on all of these levels and will be very conducive to teaching you how to remember to play, to teaching you to remember how to be children again. You follow me?
Yes.
So you have that connection simply very strongly. It is our suggestion that you go and play.
Thank you.
With them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sharing.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you. Good night.
I'd like to share
Can you all hear this first?
I'd like to share a vision thing I had.
All right, a vision thing. Speak up.
We had a meditation on Friday, and in the meditation I had a quick flash of seeing in the middle of the ocean a crystal like circle that was in the water, and there was a flag from each of the countries all around it of everyone that is on the world, and there were dolphins jumping all around it.
This is a symbolic representation of your harmonic convergence. The idea of a true unifying of the idea of nations, of realities, of all beings upon your planet. A crystallization of your collective consciousness as a world. It is your recognition of the vibration and your translation of that vibration into your symbolic crystalline format. You follow me?
Yes.
Does that assist you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Shooting. Remember, every individual makes a difference, and when you put your energy in that direction, you make it that much more possible for the collectivity of your world to accelerate in that positive direction. Thank you. Yes.
Good evening. I wondered if you could
Speak up. Be bold.
Describe your relationship and understanding of those beings that we call ascended masters.
Ascended masters. All right. Now, not meaning to be flippant, the idea of an ascended master is simply the same as you, someone, however, who has simply woken up and recognized what they are and acts like it. Important point. Acts like it. Knows that they are a part of infinite creation and acts like it. In the moment. You are all masters in that sense. Ascension is simply an acceleration of your energy into a format that allows you to act like the idea, the reflection of creation that you were created to be. You follow me? Some of them can be of assistance to you in many ways. By functioning as mirrors, as reflections for what you yourself are. Remember that a master is the first one to let you know you are also a master. So ascended masters are mirrors. Mirrors for each and every one of you to show you that if you can see the attributes in them that you prefer in yourself, Because you can see it in them, it means they already exist within you. All you have to do is act like it, and you will be an ascended master in that sense, through whatever process is relevant to you. Understand?
I believe so. Am I clear to understand then that those who have interactions with so-called ascended masters on the physical plane are therefore vibrating at their resonant frequencies?
Basically. Or enough of a third commonality to at least give them the opportunity to recognize their own mastery within, so they can manifest that if they wish to. Understand?
Yes.
Does that assist you?
Yes, may I ask another question?
You don't have to ask if you're going to ask.
Could you clarify the belief that I've heard of an astral belt around the planet Earth? A psychic belt,
yes.
which much of our consciousness gets locked into, and that in clarifying and vibrating at higher frequencies, we're able to move beyond this belt.
In a sense, yes. It is an analogy, a convenient label, yes. It is experienced literally that way, as if there are levels and layers, but it is still ideas within the one homogeneous collective consciousness all of you are, physically and non-physically. But yes, you have created layers within that idea. And those layers simply represent different levels of refinement, different levels of acceleration, higher and higher, more rarefied, less physical frequencies. So, whatever level, whatever frequency you are operating on in the physical will usually determine what level you reach. And if it is, in your terms, insufficient to go farther or higher, then you will not have, quote-unquote, as you say, achieved escape velocity. And so you will fall back down in a reincarnational format, over and over and over and over and over again. The idea, however, is when you begin to realize that you have created these levels, then, when you are in that level non-physically, you can be aware of that. Aware that it is your creation, that it occurs in levels, and that awareness, in and of itself, can accelerate your vibration above and beyond up to the higher levels and remove you from what you call the karmic cycle. You follow me?
Yeah.
Awareness, in and of itself, of the karmic cycle, of the belief systems that perpetuate the karmic cycle, awareness is enough to break you from that cycle, because all karma is self-imposed. Karma is simply a momentum that, once generated, always seeks its own level. So whatever vibration you leave the physical level with will determine how much momentum you have to go to whatever level you can go to, and if it is insufficient to take you beyond a certain point, it will float you back down again. You follow me?
Yes.
It is, again, simple physics, that is all.
Am I to understand that this belt will be that the light intensity of those beings like yourself that are assisting our planet and those beings on our planet who are raising their frequency will help to eliminate this belt within the next 20 years?
It will help to homogenize it, yes. In that sense, you may perceive it as an elimination, but it has been a homogenization. The removal of the idea that there are levels within it, so that all the realities become one reality, and then there is nothing to keep you anywhere you do not want to be. Understand?
Yes.
Does that assist you?
Yes.
But remember that the strongest impact will come from you, because it is your world.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shooting.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I wanted to ask you about telepathy.
Telepathy, yes.
Telepathy. Does it emanate from the heart?
Very good. That is why we call it telepathy. Understand, telepathy, in that sense, does utilize the electromagnetic mentality, but it is emotionally activated. It is identification. In a very real sense, telepathy is being in love. Do you not recognize that the individuals who, more often than not on your planet, know each other's thoughts are individuals who you say are in love with each other? Well, there is a reason for that. Telepathy is absolute identification with another being. If you are identifying with another being very strongly, then you begin to operate on the same wavelength. You begin to interpret creation in the same way, in the same thought patterns. You're on the same frequency, so you have the same types of thoughts synchronistically at the same time. Telepathy is not literally, mechanically speaking, reading each other's mind. It is creating the same thought patterns in your mind that someone else is creating because you identify with them so strongly. That's telepathy. Understand?
Yes.
And that is why when you allow yourselves to be in love with each other, your world, like ours, will be completely telepathic. But first you must be in love. You must identify, you must cherish and validate the differences among you. By validating and equalizing those differences, will you then create the unity that you seek upon your planet. Understand?
Yes.
That is telepathy. Does that assist you?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. You see, to add what you call a footnote, that is why many of your scientists have not been able to measure it in the terms they are used to measuring physical reality, because it is emotionally activated, and much of what you call your science will not allow emotion to figure into the equations, or consciousness to figure into the equations. But you see, the idea is that all psychic functioning and all telepathy does follow its own rules, and they can be measured, but you must use a different measuring tool. You cannot use a measuring tool that belongs in another system to measure the idea of telepathy. You must use the measuring tools that belong within that system. The idea, first of all, is that all telepathy, all psychic functioning will always take the path of least resistance, like electricity. It is very similar in that sense. Always take the path of least resistance. And many times when an individual already knows what needs to be known, then another individual doesn't need to know that, and that will short-circuit the ability of another individual to be able to telepathically receive the information, because within a particular framework, the information is already known. Path of least resistance. Second, it requires a great need or desire to have the information or to connect into an individual. And generally it is spontaneous, not planned out, not analyzed. For if it is an emotionally activated idea, planning it out and putting it in a rigid framework that many of you call scientific will actually kill the ability right then and there. It will be analogous to the following idea. Individuals who pull people into what you call your laboratory environment and wire them up to many machines and say, all right, now on the count of 3, be psychic, and if you are not psychic on the count of 3, then that will prove that psychic functioning does not exist. That is analogous to pulling an individual into a very cold and what you might call sterile environment, surrounded by individuals they do not know, are not comfortable with, are not familiar with, wiring them up to machines, and in that sense expecting them on the count of 3 to fall in love with you. It just simply usually on your world will not happen. And the similar analogy that is made by the scientists is that if the individual cannot fall in love by the count of 3, then love doesn't exist. But the idea is to understand that it does have its own rules, it does have a measurable quality, and it can be repeatable, but only in the laboratory for which it was designed. Spontaneous life itself. And or a much, much, much stronger confidence level on the part of the individual doing it. It requires an absolute trust or spontaneity. Either will do. Thank you. Shooting.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
You talk about the third dimension.
Third density, fourth density. Yes.
How many densities are there?
Infinite in all senses. But the idea of within what you call your particular universal reality, there are approximately 7 levels. And then there is another octave and another reality and another octave and another reality and so on and so on and so on, forever. But within the universal reality you call your own, there are approximately 7 levels. Understand?
Yes. When we supposedly were in Atlantis, what level was that?
You are operating, in a sense, in fourth density. Fourth density is the last level in which you can experience physical and non-physical reality. Above that, there is only, in your terms, non-physical reality.
So we slip back to the third level?
In a sense, by playing the forgetting game, yes.
Are there planets that have a 1 or 2 dimensional?
Yes.
So we are more knowledgeable, or what?
You are simply different. You are expanded in a different way. To utilize a phrase that has been used on your planet, you are, in that sense, nowhere near the bottom of your totem pole, if that is what you mean. You are actually quite close to spontaneous transformation into light. That is why there is so much acceleration even on the negative side on your planet now, because transformation is not the product of mediocrity. And the stronger you have focused yourself in one direction, when you decide to change, as you are doing now, you will change that much more quickly because you have that much more energy at your disposal. And when you change, you will flip over very fast. You follow me?
Yes.
Does that serve you?
I have just one more question.
All right.
I read an article that there were other entities from other planets that were afraid of us. Is that true?
Not in the sense you understand it. Let us simply say that there are many civilizations that choose to be cautious of you. Because you are, quote unquote, so random and, in a sense, in your terms, liable to, well, not meaning to be derogatory, fly off the handle at a moment's notice. Because you are not yet, as a society, fully in touch with all the different attributes of your consciousness, the idea simply is a caution, because in doing yourselves harm, it is possible for another entity that is in proximity to you to be involved in that same idea if they are not certain about where your vibratory awareness lay. You follow me?
Mm-hmm. Why do we think there's going to be like something like Star Wars?
In actual fact, the idea that you have symbolized in that particular play is something that has to do with your past more than your future. It is a recognition of many of the connections and civilizations and areas of negative consciousness in your history that you've already passed through. You are simply applying it to what you would call a futuristic format. But recognize, as we perceive in the consciousness of the channel, that instinctively, the originator and creator of that particular play understood that it was a representation of your past and not your future. Does it not begin a long, long time ago?
Mm-hmm.
You follow me?
Yes.
It is a representation of the old cycle of negativity, and it is a connection to many other star systems through which you have all come. None of you are original to your planet. None of you. And many of you have connections in old planetary systems that were very heavily steeped in negativity, and it is from some of that that you have still been playing out the negativity upon your planet. Understand?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shitting.
Hello, Bashar.
Hello.
What you just said to the last person that asked the question kind of flows into mine.
All right.
All the time I was growing up, I always felt like I wasn't from here. And I had dreams about flying saucers and being connected in that way. And as I became a teenager, I would be awakened in the middle of the night and be drawn to the window and see things out my window at 3 or 4 o'clock.
What you call your adolescent years, all of you are high psychic connection times.
Mm-hmm. My question is, what is my connection, and also I sense my son's connection to extraterrestrial life or UFOs?
I cannot be specific for you at this time. But the idea is that, again, all of you are connected in various ways. All of you are having conversations and making agreements in various levels. And the idea is that you are playing out your agreements in your physical life along the paths you need to. You are all connected in that way. Some of you simply have more conscious recognition of it than others. That is all.
Oh, okay.
But the idea is to be who you believe you are, representationally speaking, relative to that connection upon your planet now, and you will create the vibration on your Earth that will make it conducive for us to be able to interact with you as equals upon your planet. You follow me?
Yes. Yes.
One moment. Is there a particular area you have been attracted to that you wish to go to upon your planet?
Yes. Actually, 2.
Where?
One is Tahiti and the other is in Costa Rica, I believe.
Are you going to travel then?
I hadn't planned on it.
Do you want to?
It's been a fantasy or a daydream of mine for a long time.
Does it excite you?
Yes, it does, in kind of a scary way. I don't know what lies in store for me there.
All right. Then that is one of the reasons why we are not allowed to be specific at this time of what the connection is, because you are still afraid of it.
Okay.
Doorways are closed to us when it will interfere with your process. We place these inhibitions upon ourselves willingly, so that we will not, as you say, spill the beans.
Okay. Okay. I get the message. Okay.
The idea is to move in the directions that you feel most magnetically attracted to move within. There is, if I may be of assistance on this level, nothing you could ever discover about yourself that cannot be applied in a positive way to you. Nothing. If you are willing to trust that, you will move a little bit faster.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes.
And then you can attract the circumstances and situations in your life that will automatically allow you to flow wherever you need to flow. There are at least 3 other places upon your planet where you may find some associations that will benefit you. One of them may be in what you would call your South England area. One of them may be in what you would call your American Southwest. One of them may be what you would call, in our perception, this is a fluctuation of energy, but the general area you would call the Orient.
Mm-hmm.
There are many aspects, many connections, and many lives that you have connections to there, and you have not yet decided which one of them, which connection, which symbol will serve you best. It may be, in your terms, China. It may be somewhere farther south.
Mm-hmm.
And potentially for you, potentially, though this may not yet be formalized or solidified, there may be some very strong attraction to what you would call New Zealand. You will see in time, but let yourself flow. Do not fear yourself. That is all you're discovering, is yourself anyway. Understand?
I understand. What would help me the most to release that sense of unsureness or the fear?
Well, do you believe me when I tell you that there is nothing you could ever discover that cannot be applied in a positive way?
Yes.
Then that's it.
That's it. Okay.
If you really believe it, you will need nothing else. You will trust it. Understand?
Yes.
One moment. What you call 3 a.m., 3:15 a.m. in your morning. This morning of your time, be open for information from someone who can assist you, all right?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Shooting.
Hello, Bashar.
Hello.
I have 2 questions.
All right.
The first one.
Speak up, be bold.
Okay. I'm shaking.
All right. Feel excited. Feel the light
that's why I'm
pulsing
shaking.
through you. Yes. Share the excitement.
My first question is, on Friday, my father was admitted to the hospital. And he has spinal meningitis.
All right.
And the doctors can't tell how far along it is. And he's just been newly married. And my stepmother is very scared. And I'm wondering what I can say to calm her down and say to my father also, because I know this is something he's choosing to bring upon himself.
Does he know that?
No, he doesn't want to believe it when I tell him that.
Then you may not be able to change the belief system within that individual. And they may need to play out what they have agreed to play out. And all the fears that they may face within this interaction, we perceive, may need to be played through. For it may be, this is not a solid prediction, but it may be what you would call the discovery of what you may say to be a 75 point out of 100 point creation of a manifestation that may seem to be so overwhelming it will not reverse. Now it can, but we perceive there are many things that those 2 individuals, your father, your stepmother, have agreed to face. And they may have to go through playing this out if they will not believe that it can be done in any other way. We may not be able to be of much assistance to you in this because their determination to play this out at this point, as we perceive their energy, is very strong.
Okay.
The best you can do is still love them unconditionally and at least see what they have chosen as a sign of their strength and not a sign of weakness. You understand?
I understand.
Because everyone is eternal. Everyone is infinite. Understand?
Yes.
Now, one moment. I am going to suggest some symbolic words to you which may open and unlock some doorways within you. I cannot necessarily give you an analytical understanding of this except to say that it is our perception that some of the lives you have had together with them that have been the strongest involve some of these symbols, and sending some of these energies to you may unlock certain things that will allow you to help them later and help you now, perhaps, though you may need to assimilate them in your dream reality. Nile, Egypt, Russia's violet light, waters of light, crescent moon, white energy, papyrus, Osiris, Isis, boat of moon, boat of sun, waters of Nile, wisdom, aged, chamber, focus, fire, awakens. In that sense, you have what we can give you as a key at this time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Allow your dream reality to assemble this idea into some format that will make sense to you. Yes?
My second question is, when I go to my meetings and I come to the Sunday night meeting to listen to your tapes from Los Angeles, I am falling asleep all the time.
Yes.
And I'm getting tired of doing this.
No, it's all right. It's all right. You're getting the information.
I know.
That's why we are telling you now that some of the symbologies we had to give you have to be assimilated within you unconsciously. For now, it is where you are doing your quickest work. Okay. It is the way that will allow you to assist the other individuals in your life in the best way. Do not worry about it. You are getting the information. You are getting it.
Okay.
Trust it. Relax. It will begin to come out in the actions in your life when you allow yourself to be fully spontaneous in that sense. One more word. Scarab.
Okay. Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you very much. Understand that part of the connections you are making now in what you would call your sleep state will allow you to begin to truly wake up in the dream reality and wake up in the physical reality, in the physical dream. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Relax. It is all right. Many individuals react that way right now. That is the way they best absorb the energy and the information. To us, you are not asleep. Understand?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Pleasant dreams. Shedding.
Bashar?
Yeah.
My question is twofold.
All right. Fold number one.
Okay, fold number one. First of all, would you just briefly mention what you foresee to be some of the changes in the field of education in the near future?
All right. Some of them will harken back to what you call Atalantean times, where environments and atmospheres will be created in which those being educated will have all senses utilized. They will not be the high analytical focus, but direct experiential absorption, so that an individual will be allowed to identify, literally identify with the concept as the concept. They will be the concept and will know it innately, intuitively, automatically. Understand?
Yes.
Some of this was accomplished in what you call Atalantean time through the use of drum beats, setting up a cadence, what you might call a hypnotic state, not something that does something against their will in that sense, but just the creation of a conducive atmosphere to allow them to absorb in an easy manner. Breathing in learning is very powerful. Very powerful. You will find that if there is any concept you really want to maintain, intuitively an idea of. If you will, take a 4 count of 4. 4 count of 4. Allow yourself to breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. And think of the concept. Let the breath out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Clear for the next concept. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Have the concept. Again, repeating the idea. But at this rate. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Approximately what you call a second. 4 seconds. You follow me?
Yes.
Very powerful learning technique that will begin to be implemented in your society when you understand that regulating the body as a whole will allow an individual to absorb the information in a holistic way, rather than telling them to concentrate with this portion of their consciousness or this portion of their consciousness, rather than breaking them up into pieces and letting them absorb the idea as a whole. Understand?
Yes.
What else?
I can see that what you're saying might also be related to what I want to ask next, which is, would you talk a little bit more about dyslexia specifically and how we may help someone who appears to have this problem?
All right. There are a few reasons for why we perceive that occurs in your society. One is similar to the format you call epilepsy. You understand?
Yes.
It is a cross-circuiting of the brain. This is similar to what happens in the type of channeling you are perceiving now. There is an explosion of neuronic activity, but coordinated in what you would call a laser-like coherent fashion. Epilepsy and to some degree dyslexia are uncoordinated electrical activity that is related to the idea of channeling and perceiving different dimensions and perspectives of reality, all at the same time, but they are overlapped in a way that cannot be filtered out. You follow me?
Yes.
So the idea is to allow more coordination as a whole unit within the brain to understand whole concepts, whole directions of motion, so that the cross-circuiting, short-circuiting will not occur. An individual, to some degree, who is epileptic, dyslexic, or even what you call stuttering, one thing that can be done, just one. Now remember, there are as many reasons as there are individuals. This will not work for everyone, but this lays a base foundation. Have them look at you in a relaxed and meditative state, breathing easily. Take your hands and have your hands do this. Slowly. Then cross. 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 This effect on the optic nerve will begin to assist the brain in blending and balancing what you call the left and right hemisphere to such an extent that the short-circuiting will no longer occur. Individuals who stutter, while they are watching you do this, 9 times out of your 10 will stop stuttering. Individuals who are dyslexic, while they are watching you do this, 9 times out of 10 will smooth out at least what you would call 70%. Individuals who are epileptic, while they are watching you do this, may find smaller and smaller firings going on in the brain, and they will be more and more focused in specific directions. You follow me?
Yes.
It can aid and assist in the blending and the balancing of the different hemispheres and the electrical activity that goes on within them. Understand, it is no accident. Not that it has to happen this way, but simply because of the way your society is and the way it thinks it needs to get things done. It is no accident that the majority of what you call channels in your physical reality, before they started channeling or becoming psychic, gave themselves a severe electric shock or a strong blow to the head that approximated what you call an epileptic seizure. It was for the purpose of realigning all the neuronic pathways to open them up to be able to allow the flow of energy to come through in the way that it needs to facilitate the agreement of the channeling that they have made. You understand?
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying you have to go around banging yourself on the head. But the idea, therefore, of allowing the left and right hemispheres of the brain to start acting like one brain, which it is not really a left and a right completely. If you start treating it as one idea, then you will begin to smooth out some of that electrical activity and it will not short circuit. Because it is short-circuiting because you rely upon the idea that one side serves only one function and another side serves only another function, and you will not allow those things to cross, to blend where they need to in the center. Understand?
Yes.
What you call the corpus callosum that separates the brain halves is the seat of all the origination of the electrical activity, cross-filtering and blending that takes place within all of the phenomena you have mentioned. So allowing an individual to center in that way by involving both halves of the brain and then crossing them will allow them to utilize that center portion and begin to balance and blend more appropriately the polarities they have created themselves to be for whatever reason. Understand?
Yes.
Does that assist you?
It does very much.
It is one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why your infinity symbol is in the shape that it is. It shows the polarities and where they converge in the center. Analytically, symbolically, this is in the center of your brain. Right in the corpus callosum, in which there is literally a type of black hole through which all your consciousness pours into physical reality as the persona you know yourself to be. Understand?
Yes.
Sweet dreams to you.
Okay, thank you.
You will have more information in that state now that a certain door has been opened.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, one moment. You have done similar things to this before using what you call visual aid, especially in Atalantean times. You have been an educator many times. Understand?
Yes.
Use color, use light, use sound. Use what your imagination provides.
Okay.
Enjoy. Joy.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Shooting.
Hello, Bashar.
Hello.
A beloved friend of mine has recently experienced the death of her younger brother.
All right.
She has the belief that life on this earth now is all we experience, and when it's over, that's the end of that person. She's experiencing a great deal of pain.
All right.
Can you tell me how I can best serve her during this time?
Do you mean within her belief system?
It seems as though it would have to be that her belief system is not mine. I've experienced a great deal of frustration in trying to know how to be accessible to her.
Perhaps within her belief system, can she believe that even if there may not be a continuance, that there is a reason for everything? Can she believe that?
Perhaps.
All right. We will not second guess.
Okay.
That can be one way, to understand that there is a reason, and therefore whatever that individual contributed as the individual that they were is what needed to be contributed to your world to allow it to be what it is. Now, if she will not accept that, there may not be much assistance we can give. However, with the idea of continuance, we may be able to assist a little bit with the following perspective. Perhaps just from what you call a logical point of view, the individual might be able to understand that all things continue in a different form. Is the individual in any way, shape, or form, in your terms, scientific?
I would say her mind works that way
All
more.
right. Does the individual understand that energy cannot be created or destroyed? That it can only change from form to form?
I'm sure she's heard that concept.
Let her think about it, because it can be applied directly to consciousness, which is energy. It cannot be destroyed. It must continue to exist. If it once existed, it must always exist. Yes, in a different consciousness has ever had the ability to express itself cohesively, then it will always express itself cohesively. on some level, in some way. Understand?
Yes, I do.
In other words, to put it very simply, if something has existed, it must always exist, because what has existed cannot become non-existent. What exists is. The idea that something can end utterly and become non-existent comes from your society's assumption that existence can become non-existent. But those two concepts are already complete. They are the polarity of creation. That which already doesn't exist fills non-existence. That which exists fills existence. They do not become the other. There is no room in non-existence for anything that already exists. It is already filled with all the things that will never exist. I know this does not necessarily translate very well in your language, but perhaps it is the best that can be accomplished. The idea is to simply understand that if something has existed, it must always stay on the side of existence, and therefore the only choice it has is to change its format. Because once it exists, it always exists, because time is your illusion. Understand?
Yes.
Perhaps this can be of some assistance. However, in no way, shape, or form is anyone ever expected to force a change in someone's belief systems. And she does not have to believe it if she does not want to.
I understand that.
However, one moment. All right, no, we cannot share that. Does that serve you?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Surely.
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
I'm curious, in terms of Earth years, how old are you?
158. 137 in my years.
Have you ever channeled down into another human being before? And did it affect the history of this planet?
All things that interact affect each other. You have affected mine, I have affected yours. We have affected each other in the combined history that we are.
Do you plan on coming down in the form of another human being at some later date?
No. The one life, in that sense, that I have lived upon your planet has been sufficient, though we have channeled through many of you at different times.
I listened to a fellow that had interviewed many people that have had contact with aliens, and he seemed to have talked to several people that had been removed from the earth, and part of their sexual reproductive systems been removed and placed into the bodies or whatever of the aliens, and then at later date brought back the human being to show the offspring.
Yes, we are aware of the idea. It is not our civilization that is performing these particular interactions.
Is this really going on?
In a sense, but not exactly as you have defined it. Remember that some of what you are defining, some of what those individuals in their experience are defining, to some degree are symbolic interpretations that they pick up telepathically that they think are physically happening. Understand? In other words, telepathy can be so strong between what you call an extraterrestrial and a member of your society that a telepathic interaction that involves an exchange of energy or ideas can actually be interpreted by you as a physiological occurrence when it isn't. Understand?
I think so.
In other words, telepathy, imagination is real, but not necessarily in the physical dimension that you understand it. Also remember that any interactions that are going on between your civilization and other civilizations, whether your civilization remembers it or not, are all done by agreement. And what is being done is a part of the transformation taking place upon your planet. To change the vibration, to allow there to be more conduciveness for individuals on your planet to exist within the new vibration that you are creating it to be. None of these things are experiments truly in your sense against your will. They are co-created experiments, co-created interactions, but because of what your society has created itself to be, many of your members at this time do not remember that they have made such an agreement. Understand?
I think so.
Does that serve you?
Can I ask you one other thing?
Yes.
Do you have any idea who killed John F. Kennedy and why?
We cannot share all the specifics, but it is our perception that the individual you have labeled in your terminology never committed the act at all. In our perception, the idea would be that there were what you would call interest groups that found the vibration of that particular individual inviolable, unsupportable, and unchangeable in any way other than through the violence that was perpetuated. But the individual that you have labeled as being responsible in that sense was involved and was a part of what you would call the entire scope or scheme, but was never actually responsible for the physical act itself that caused the death. You understand?
Yes.
The idea is simply a format to represent the degree of separation that existed, and to some degree still exists, between what you call your public and your government. Also, the energy of the individual you refer to as Kennedy is in a sense another fragment, another aspect of the energy you have referred to as Lincoln. It is the same, in a sense, soul. Understand?
Yes.
And that is why it represented many of the same ideas, and why many of the synchronicities in their life overlapped and were similar. And it played out, in a sense, ideas in your society to illustrate the state in which your society existed at the time, and the state of separation that existed at the time in your society that could create such an act of violence and separation. Understand?
Yes.
So they were willing in that sense, not in the negative sense, not in the complete martyrdom sense, but willing to choose lives that would represent those energies in your society, not unlike the scenario that was played out by what you call your collective Christ consciousness upon your planet. To illustrate the state of affairs at the time and to give you an opportunity to smooth out, blend, and balance those affairs rather than allow them to perpetuate in the manner that could create that particular type of scenario. Understand?
I think so. You lost me a little bit along there someplace.
We are simply making an analogy between what you recognize as the martyrdom, quote unquote, to use that term loosely, of Kennedy, of your Lincoln, of your Christ consciousness. The idea relates in that particular event strongly to the same type of scenario and the same type of reason for why what you call the crucifixion scenario was played out upon your planet. To relieve your planet of the need to take itself through suffering from that point forward. And what you call the Lincoln scenario and the Kennedy scenario were aspects of a soul consciousness, what you may call an ascended being, that chose to live a life wherein it would place itself squarely in the position of illustrating in no uncertain terms the state in which your collective consciousness as a society existed at that point. They were willing in that sense to give up their physical lives to illustrate the state of your society so that you would see quite definitely where and when things needed to change. You understand?
Yes.
Does that serve you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shooting.
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
What I would like to ask you is that I am in training to become a hypnotherapist, and I would like to know how I can best use this tool to serve people.
How do you wish to use it? What has your imagination told you?
Right now I'm doing past life regression.
All right. Does that excite you?
Yes, it does.
All right, then. Any other way you wish to use it?
Hypnosis?
Yes.
I am finding out there are many ways that I can use it.
Pick the ones that excite you the most, act upon it with your integrity, and you'll be doing just fine. You will be serving the individual's best by being to the fullest who you can be, because by being who you are, you will only attract the individuals, by definition, whom you will be able to serve the best, will you not?
Yes.
Why would you want to attract someone you cannot serve?
I wouldn't want to.
All right, then, don't.
Okay.
It is as simple as that. Every single person has the necessary audience that they can serve. And every audience will find its server. If you are simply being who you know you are, you will be of the vibration to only attract those, by definition, who you will be able to help. Why would you assume that you would be able to attract someone you wouldn't be able to help? Well?
I wouldn't.
All right then. Does that work for you?
Yes, it does.
Well, thank you very much.
May I ask one more question?
Yes.
I would like to know what the importance is of nutrition as the consciousness expands.
It will depend upon the belief systems of the individuals, but it can be representative of changes and accelerations in your frequencies. You may find that you will lose the urge for more and more material sustenance and start relying more and more on energy. This does not have to be a forced situation. You don't have to force yourself to be more spiritual. But the idea in that sense is that generally, higher accelerated energy will require less physical bulk to maintain it. You understand?
Yes.
So the simpler forms may come into play for many of you, but the reasons and the timing and the actual substances in question will vary from individual to individual. You have to deal with each one instinctively and distinctly. You follow me?
Yes.
Does that assist you?
Yes, it does.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Hello, Bashar.
Hello!
I have two questions for
All
you.
right.
The first is, how will I know what my next step is for my greatest or fastest spiritual growth?
Now, what have we been talking about all night long?
I got it.
What excites you the most? The thing that you can act upon. The thing you are capable of acting upon out of all the opportunities that present themselves to you. Choose the one that excites you the most and act upon it with integrity. It will always accelerate you effortlessly and abundantly in the direction that represents the path you chose to be. That's what excitement is. Definition. Excitement is the physical translation of the vibratory energy that represents the path you chose to be at that moment. So act upon the thing that excites you the most, and you will be right in step with where you need to be. Understand?
I sure do.
Also, when you do that, you are living in the moment, enjoying who you are in the present moment. And when you live in the present, you collapse the whole notion of time. And what you call your future accelerates towards you at an accelerated rate. Understand? You all know what you say happens to time when you're having fun, don't you? Well, it doesn't really fly. The idea simply is that when you are focused on something that is, in your terms, exciting and lets you be in the moment, it is not only that you let time fly, it is not only that you are not, in a sense, paying attention to time, you are not ignoring it, the passage of time. It is that you are literally not creating the time, because you create time. You create it. Space and time are your projections. They are the definitions of physical reality. But you create physical reality. It is your game. So when you live in the moment, you do not create as much time. Remember, many of you have had this experience. You are doing something you really love to do. And all of a sudden you look up and say, oh, well, 3 hours have passed. Where did the time go? Feels like, 15 minutes to me. Understand something very important. If it only literally feels experientially like 15 minutes to you, you have only aged 15 minutes, not 3 hours. You have reconnected yourself into the timeline that your society agrees upon, and therefore have reconnected yourself 3 hours later to catch up to everyone else. But if you have only experienced in your heart 15 minutes, you have only aged 15 minutes because you only created 15 minutes of time. So the idea of how to accelerate very quickly is to live in the present totally. Then you won't create as much time. You will literally become ageless, timeless, and everything will collapse into the present. Understand?
Sure do.
Does that
Thank
assist
you.
you?
It does. I have another question.
All right.
I have a situation in my life that's not too much fun to look forward to that might be happening in October.
All right.
And I wanted to know, how do I know what there is for me to do to disappear that situation, or is there anything that I can do?
To transform it?
Make it disappear.
Transform it?
Transform it. So that I don't have to experience it as I now see it.
All right. Why would you create that experience? And if you did experience it, what would you learn in experiencing it? if you can allow yourself to determine what it is you would be getting out of it if you were to experience it, and allow yourself to learn it now, you will not have to have that experience in order to learn it. Understand?
I do.
Plain and simple.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This timing, allow me once again to extend to each and every one of you individually and collectively. Everything is in perfect timing. Trust yourself. Wake up and dream. Wake up and live your dream, for your physical reality is only what you dream it to be. What you believe most strongly or fear most strongly that it might be is what it is. Redefine the belief, you will redefine the reality. Remember, your feelings do not happen by themselves. There is no such thing as, I just feel that way. I don't know, I just do. All feelings are reactions. Reactions to something you already believe to be true. So if you have a feeling you don't prefer, it's because you have a belief that you may not prefer. Let the feeling put you in touch with what the belief would have to be in order to have that feeling. Define what the belief is that you don't prefer. Don't judge it. Just redefine it. For in having had the belief the way you had it, and in having had the feeling the way you had it, it pointed out to you what you preferred instead. So it has served you in a positive way. Anything you have ever done, positive and negative, has brought you to where you are now. Don't invalidate it. It is all a part of you. Redefine the belief in the fashion you prefer to define it without invalidating the way it used to be defined, and you will allow, not make, not force, allow that reality to manifest in the quickest possible way, the path of least resistance. Do what excites you. It is your strongest signal. It is the vibration that allows you to know you are all living light. Coherent lasers of consciousness. Whatever vibration you are is what reality you pull out of the holographic matrix that is formerly invisible and make it visible to you. All that you perceive with your physical senses is the vibration you are on. Change your vibration, change your reality. It is as simple as that. Let it be that simple. And remember, nothing is too simple or too good to be true. Oh, how long will this last? It's got to end sometime. And finally, lighten up. Lighten up on yourselves. You deserve ecstasy. Just because you exist. You don't need another reason. You deserve it. I believe it. You don't have to, but you can. It is up to you. We thank you for allowing us to reflect back to you what you already know. To remind you of who you are, so that we may learn to play together as equals. Our unconditional love to you all. We bid you all exciting dream life and life dreams. A fond and loving good day.
being here tonight.